Codependency is now called the self-love deficit in psychological newspapers and updated research. It is no longer called codependency, although it's widely used, but it's actually the self-love deficit. And this is because you attract pathological narcissists, all kinds of maladaptive psychological cluster B people into your life, and you find it your life's duty to look after them, to caregive them. Now, I myself was raised by a psychiatrist. My father was the first Indian psychiatrist in South Africa, and we used to have patients coming home all the time. So as a collective, it was our duty to caregive these mentally ill people who would often come home and break our vases. One even threw a crystal glass at my mother and cut her foot open. It was bleeding all over the carpet, and I had to witness this as a young child growing up. There was a lot of chaos in the house because of, the needs of the people that my father was fulfilling in our lounge, in our living room. And of course, I, in a way, followed suit, and I became a caregiver to people like this, which is probably why I've been attracting cluster B personalities as husbands. But of course, I am healing that and working through not being a codependent anymore, and healing from my self-love deficit, to imbue and embody the highest level of healthy self-esteem and healthy self-love, healthy narcissism, and confidence. Of course, I've not really suffered with confidence in my adult years, but self-esteem, of course, I keep getting hit with, and then I keep growing from. So my self-esteem is reaching a very, very strong level of health, which I'm very happy to report at this stage. So alhamdulillah, my healing is working, and I hope to help all with this. So very early on, you will find out that once you are in a codependent or self-love deficit relationship with a narcissist, you will very quickly go from soulmate to cellmate. That is right, because they will double bind you in a trap where you are so intertwined into their lives, making all of their problems your problem, that you will sell out on yourself to take care of them. For damn sure, they will not reciprocate it, because it's a total give and take relationship. In a way, you're not getting anything out of it. Your needs are never being met as a codependent. You are completely seeing to someone else's needs, but for some weird, twisted reason, you feel fulfilled by being that sacrificial lamb. And this is me here telling you right now, don't do it. Pull that rug out from under him. Pull the throne from underneath him. Let him fall. He is a false god. That self-love belongs to you. And imagine how amazing your life would be if you were to turn that love around. All that caregiving, all that self-sacrifice, all of that maintenance, all of that care and love and concern and services, turn it around and give it to you. Oh my goodness. The way your life will turn around. I swear, it is the best thing that's ever happened. What is codependency? According to the dictionary definition, and we'll go with that first, codependency is both a relationship and an individual condition that can only be resolved by the codependent. Many codependents are attracted to and maintain long-term breakup-resistant relationships with pathological narcissists. Most codependents are selfless and deferential to the needs and desires of others over themselves. Sound familiar? They are pathologically caring, responsible, and sacrificing people whose altruism and good deeds are rarely reciprocated. Okay, so of course in the feminine community we have this term called doormat duchess. You're just going to be a sacrificial martyr for this man to shit all over you, stamp and stomp his muddy boots all over you, and you're just going to lie down there and let him do it because you're such a nice person. Is it really because you are self-sacrificial and this wonderful martyr-like lamb who's willing to shed his or her blood for the at the altar of marriage or whatever it is that you're committed to? Because you're cooperating with someone in the dependency, the narcissist is dependent on you as supply. He needs you to elevate and prop up his reality and his fantasy world. He needs you to validate him, to approve him, to grant him his needs met. Services, sex, and supply. He needs you. So there's an unhealthy dependence on you to give him those things. And then you, on the other hand, are co-dependent with him and on him because you depend on him to give your life meaning. You feel like your ability to provide supply gives you a purpose in life. You feel like your ability to provide services to this blood-sucking narcissist or soul-reaping narcissist is a purpose that you are very akin to doing because you find there is some kind of benefit in being this giving, or perhaps he is financially taking care of you, and then you in return are bartering with your supply, with your submission, with your surrender, with your services, with giving him sex, with giving him food, with giving him whatever he needs. Sometimes you could be the financial giver and he could be the one giving you validation in this life so that you can prove to your family that you can have a husband. But this husband is reaping and wreaking havoc in your soul. He's looting, plundering, pillaging, and raping your life in every possible way. Yet you are remaining in this relationship because you are dependent on him for purpose, for some kind of validation, for some kind of sick, twisted altruism, for some kind of meaning in your life because you fail to see and believe that you deserve better and that you can get meaning from your life outside of this destructive relationship with the narcissist. You are also culturally driven to stay with the narcissistic partner because culturally you're supposed to be the good wife, the sacrificial wife, the one making sabr, having patience, the one who is going to stand next to him and stick by him through thick and thin, the supportive partner who is going to go with him for counseling and therapy, even though he lies his pants off at every session and will never come clean about his flaws and his faults and be self-aware about the destruction that he is wreaking on you and himself and the relationship, and if you have kids, them too. And everyone at large, society as a whole suffers from this kind of maladaptive relationship. And the person who is codependent, of course, suffers from anxiety, depression. They feel like they are the support structure that is propping up this entire facade. The entire facade of this flaky fantasy reality that the narcissist plunges you into is propped up by your willingness to support him in his madness. They are both intertwined in this toxic bond where one is enabling the other. So the codependent caregiver, just in many instances, it's more than likely the wife. It can be the man as well, but in most instances, generally speaking, it is the wife. She is this caregiver, this mother figure, this nurturer, this enabler for the narcissist to maintain his addictions to porn, drugs, whatever it is. And she supports him in that because it gives her a role to play. She has something to control in that she feels like she has control over the situation. She will, of course, suffer depression, anxiety, frustration, anger. She has porous boundaries, which is, of course, why this narcissist was able to ride roughshod all over her and secure her as the supply, as the codependent enabler supply that he needs to fulfill his life so that he can continue down the path of destruction, because she's there to support him. Whether or not we like to admit it, especially because I was in that relationship, what I was actually doing was propping up this man to continue his destructive spree in sucking up the supply from me and draining it from me, as well as continuing his addiction to porn and whatever maladaptive self-soothing mechanisms that he had in place to numb out from the reality of his false self. They don't want to go into the real world. They don't want to break the facade of the false self, because that will cause this kind of narcissistic nihilism or this narcissistic collapse or mortification, where they will actually have to face themselves, and that will cause a kind of a death and annihilation of the narcissist, which is what has been protecting them since their traumatic youth, from the age of about 2, 3, 4, or 5 and onwards. That actually formed this maladaptive funhouse of mirrors, glass, igloo, shield from the real world that they've built around them. So as the codependent in a narcissistic relationship, what you're actually doing is promoting, supporting, and upholding this facade, enabling him to continue being a narcissist, but at what cost? At the cost of your sanity, at the cost of your emotional well-being, at the cost of your intellectual well-being, at the cost of your spiritual well-being, at the cost of your everything, your finances, your home, your heart, your, most women who suffer with narcissistic husbands often contract cancers, terminal illnesses. They suffer from a whole plethora of somatic symptoms due to the stress, the gaslighting, the emotional manipulation, the abuse that they're constantly under a barrage of. So all of this will take a toll on this woman, all because she finds it her life's purpose to be the sacrificial lamb at the altar of this monstrous God, who is actually a 4-year-old in the body of a man. So that is, in a nutshell, is codependency. I hope and I pray that everyone watching this finds a way out of their codependency and no longer submits willfully to the man, the monster, and this fake God that they've propped themselves up to be, because you are actually enabling them to prop themselves up as this God. Pull the throne from under him and let him fall to the ground, and take the throne and sit on it yourself and reclaim your life, because that is where your power lies, and that is also where your freedom lies. So go get your freedom. Assalamu alaikum and goodbye.